Hey everyone, my name is William. I'm one of the co-founders of Sweep, an AI-powered junior developer working in GitHub. So first to tell you a little bit about how Sweep works. If you ever use GitHub and you have a problem for someone who's maintaining an open source repo, or let's say you want to just leave a reminder for yourself, you'll typically create a GitHub issue. So something like, Sweep, sometimes you'll just write add tests to X file, right? And eventually some human will come and take care of this issue for you. And what Sweep does is it turns these issues and Jira tickets or anything else in this kind of format of here's something to do that's a software task, and it turns that into a pull request. So today I'm going to show you how I use Sweep to implement a pretty big front-end change without knowing any front-end. Like, my knowledge is literally limited to writing Markdown. I did not know any front-end. So I'll show you how that worked. So this is our base landing page, right? So I had a user come to me and say, I can't find the pricing page. I know it's up here. It may not be easy to find, but it's up there. And it told us, okay, I can't find it. Can you make it its own page? Because what happens is, also, I know we're $480 a month for our self-hosted pro version, but don't worry about that until the end. So yeah, they were like, okay, here's this pricing model. I can't find it. Can you make it its own page, right? And I was like, okay, sure, but I don't know any front end. Let's try to get Sweep to do this. And Sweep is also this kind of ghost wizard thing. That's our logo. So I asked Sweep to move the pricing modal to its own page. And this is literally all I gave it. Like, Sweep wrote a bunch of edits, but I can show you the first part is it's empty, basically. And Sweep adds this checklist so that we can show you how the tasks are progressing. So I'll go into a little bit of how it works. So if you're going to make this code change, probably the first thing you do is you go to our repository. It's just based off of Create React app. And you go and you read through our files. So let's go through that. So first, Sweep goes and it performs a code search. So for example, okay, we should probably find the pricing modal. That's pretty important. And then, some other lines of code in the pricing modal. I think this terminates, so this grabs more lines. And then it grabs the nav bar because that's where this current pricing modal is, right? And then it grabs the footer and call to action and some other stuff. We use this along with kind of the directory structure of your repository to make a plan to create files, change files, and everything else. This is all powered by GPT-4. So for example, we need to create a new pricing page, right? We need to take that pricing modal and, delete it, basically. So this pricing modal just removes all of the code and logic and leaves some other stuff. And this new pricing page should render everything that's currently in pricing modal, right? So then finally, we modify the nav bar to change the link and do some other logic. And also add a new route so this actually works and becomes a page and not just a modal that pops up. Then, if you've written a PR description, you'll know that they're typically really poorly written, right? Like personally, I would just put in a couple of sentences of, here's what I did. Or I'll just write one sentence that I did this. Like if I were to write the PR description, I'd be like, move the pricing modal to its own page. I would not write any details about what I did. But Sweep is not lazy like me, so it can actually write it. So it says, here's a PR description. It moves the pricing information from the pricing modal component to its own page. It's been refactored. The link has been updated, and the routing has been set up to include a new route. And that's great. And actually, if you have a /pricing, it's probably better for SEO. I don't know that much, but probably it's better. And then, writes a summary of change for each files, which is nice. And then it actually writes the code. So not only do we, create the plan for you to do it, we also just execute this plan for you. And we show you each commit. Like you'll see that it says probably some commit with 40 lines written by GPT-4. And I'll show you this. And then, we'll have the pricing modal. We have the nav bar. And we have the app. And we take all of these and we put them in a PR, just like how a human developer will. And then sometimes it does some self-review, but we'll go into that. So yeah, you see this nice PR, and it's 125 lines now. Also, as you can see, because I don't write any of this code, it's requesting my co-founder for review, because GitHub guesses who should review this PR, and it's not me. But we'll talk about that after. And then, we write the description, we show you how to check it out, etc. And yeah, not only do we create this PR, you can actually leave comments to have Sweep edit the PR, which I'll show you after that, or edit the original issue to recreate it from scratch, because, LLMs get it wrong a lot. So sometimes you need to change the prompt or, add some extra detail. So we let you do that. And you can see here, the first 3 changes were all okay. And then as soon as you updated the app, it broke everything. So let's take a look at what happened. If we go here, those 2 commits succeeded. And then if you go here and you click the error logs, this is a Netlify, which it basically just takes your site and builds it and deploys it for you as a deployment preview. So if I go to the error logs, I just went and I looked at the step that was red, and then I grabbed all of these errors, and then I pasted it as a comment in the code. So you can see I was doing this an hour ago, right before I left at around 5. And then I asked Sweep I just gave it this error. I didn't ask it to do anything actually. And then you can see it said, "Hi, I decided to make the following changes. I'm going to remove this pricing modal import because it's defined but not used." Oops. Okay. And then I'm going to modify the pricing page with these contents and just remove the imports that are not used from here as well. It's pretty straightforward. We don't like that we have to do this manually. Even this, we don't want to do manually. So we do have kind of automatic linters coming up, which will be a new feature releasing soon. So if you use our hosted version, which is free for 5 PRs, you'll be able to use it like right now. So this will happen automatically eventually, but so far I pasted it in. And then you can see that it actually succeeds after that. So let's see. So it succeeds and then it builds. And I don't have the previous deployment, but you can notice that I left a comment that the contents are actually missing. So this is what happened with GPT-4. So GPT-4 really likes to do this thing where it does this. It's like, here is the pricing information for the basic plan. Here's the pricing information for the pro plan. And here's the pricing information for the enterprise plan. And it doesn't actually give you the contents. So it will just tell you, okay, I did it. And then, in a comment, it'll be like, okay, I did it. And trust me. And then it's not actually there. So what I did was, again, it's a very common pattern. I just tell it, hey, the pricing modal contents are missing. He's like, okay, turns out I forgot to copy the contents of the pricing modal component into the pricing page. So yeah, it's like, okay, yeah, I told it you forgot to do this, and then it just fixed it. And so keep in mind that was the first change we wanted to make. We wanted to move the modal onto its own page. Also, if you look this up, this link, you'll find it, and it's all open source. And then finally, what happened was I went to the old page, and what I noticed was that there was something messed up with the React routing, and I'll show you the consequence of that. So this is our live page. Like, this is our production page, And there's a very clear bug because I asked Sweep to make this About Us page earlier. It's just myself. I used to work at Roblox as a machine learning engineer, and my co-founder, Kevin, he dropped out of Waterloo to work with me. And if you look at this, I'm clicking the home button, but it doesn't work. And then the same thing happened, of course, with the pricing page. So I asked Sweep to fix that as well. I was like, something was broken like with the nav bar. So finally it made this change as well. It fixed React Router DOM issues. I wish I could go into more detail, but I'm actually not a front-end engineer again. And then I asked to do one more thing, and then I'll show you what happened at the end. So keep in mind here, we were Sweep. We had this pricing modal like this. It pops up. I thought it was fine. My co-founder thought it was fine, but one of our users told us to fix it, so we fixed it. And if you go to our deployment preview, which is basically jumping in at the end, you'll see Netlify gives you this nice deployment preview right here. And then what you can actually see is we changed it from that to this. And and it also fixed this bug. So now you can actually go back and forth. So I'm actually going to merge this production now. And then this will deploy to production. And then if you go to our page now, in like 5 minutes, you'll see that this actually worked. And it wrote about 180 lines of code without really, with me just reviewing it, basically. So those steps are actually hard-coded. And then the reason we did this was, basically back in March, I wrote a very early version of effectively AutoGPT, but for code. And it could do all these different steps. It could change dynamically, right? It could change the steps dynamically. So it could say, okay, I've written a file. Now I can write 3 more files, and I can keep doing this in infinite loop. But that adds a lot of instability when you actually want to use it as a tool. It's very cool as a demo, but we don't want to kind of decide on the fly because you'll have just so much instability. You are probably not going to go in a straight line to solving the problem. And typically, you don't need the loops that you'll see in AutoGPT or other types of self-healing code should probably be done after you write the code, not as you're still planning, if that makes sense. So basically, you should write the code and then you should edit it and let the user edit it instead of having the agent run everything else by itself. So that was our logic, and that's why it's hard-coded. I think a lot of it was figuring out how to effectively parse the output of LLM responses. So I haven't used any open source library in a long time. Besides, technically our LLM parsing is open source because we're open source. But we wrote our own. Basically, you just take every prompt output as a regex matchable object, and you can take everything back out. And then, so if you write code, for example, typically ChatGPT will have a triple backtick. If you've ever seen that, because it will write it in markdown format. And you have to write a regex for that. And you have to write multiple regexes as well as specific lines of code and tuning it. I think that was a really long and iterative process. But when the next model comes out, it won't be that hard to do it again. So I think once you figure it out, you get really good at it. It cannot do it from technical scratch, 0 files. I think we hard-coded it so it will break. Because we think how often do you build a site from scratch? If you're a software consulting firm, you probably don't even build it from scratch. You build it from a template. So we recommend if you're trying out Sweep, just set up Create React app, and you're gonna have a great experience. But we're not GPT engineer, which is great and it's really cool. But our logic is how often do you really build code from scratch versus how often do you take existing code and modify it? So we can't build from scratch right now. In terms of defensibility, I think there are parts of it that seem straightforward now, but you have to execute each step of this really, really well. Like you can't really mess up this code search. Like, for example, we thought, okay, you can put 15 snippets from like 15 pieces of code from like 15 different files and put it in, it'll work. It will not work. You need to like kind of figure it out. And I think a lot of it would be our execution speed. Like we built this effectively in 2 months. So, and then we're just gonna keep iterating. So I think that's kind of how we can build defensibility. The other one is we really enjoy interacting with our Discord community. And I think it opens around for open source. Like the community is one of the most important things. So if you join our Discord, I think right now, one of my co-founders will greet you. I would normally greet you, but I'm here with the mic. But so that's kind of how I think about it. Yeah, for comments, it really depends. This is a 180 line change. So 4 comments is about par for the course. But I've seen like 80 line changes be approved with no comment needed. So yeah, it really depends how complex. And also I put no effort into writing the issue description. It was like, it's just this. So that's going to make it really annoying and you're going to have to pay for it when you write the comments. But if I knew exactly how to do this, I could articulate it well, it might one-shot it. I think it's about the type of work that we're going to do, because a lot of these can be described as chores. Like this is actually it seems like it's actually not a new feature. It's just taking the pricing page and refactoring it. It's just one big refactor. I think it's just about the nature of work that's going to happen. But I think, for example, someone to operate this you always need someone to operate this. You need someone to take accountability. Like if I ship this and I broke our production website, it would be my fault. And I would say like, sorry team, my bad. And then, but like if you have it fully automated, you don't have someone to do that. So that's another part. Yeah. Aider is great. And I think it runs really well in terminal. But what we're looking for is more of an asynchronous workflow. Like for Aider, if you go and you do something, you're blocked, right? You can't do like 5 Aiders at once to some degree, right? But because we're kind of operating like another teammate, it's a lot more parallelizable. So I'm happy if you use Aider and if you use Sweep. Like that's one world that you can live in. We're running in the browser. So if you either run our hosted solution or if you self-host it, it won't block you from writing other stuff, because Aider is like kind of like ChatGPT, right? It's like ChatGPT with really high integration in code. Arguably, that's us as well. The one thing that we're running is, because issues, like it's parallelizable, right? Versus terminal is much less parallelizable, arguable. The other one is that we're really focused on running tests. So in this example, I don't think our GitHub Actions is working, but typically we'll check your GitHub Actions and any tests you have, and we'll iterate on that until the code works correctly. And if you have better tests, then this will maybe like, you may not even need to leave comments in the future. Yeah, I'm a really big fan of open source. And I would just say what you cannot do. This is the Elastic license. So basically, the only thing you cannot do is deploy Sweep and then sell it to other people. So don't do that. But anything else, like if you're working at any company and you want to use it for your own like commercial purposes, it's fine. You just can't host it and sell it to other people, which I think is a very fair license. And in terms of how open source will go, I think I don't think I'm very qualified to answer that, but I mean, what I would like to see is like better communities. I mean, I think it's nice to kind of connect with people all the time, that we see like people who are interested in LLM dev tools, just going into our community and talking with us and giving us feedback. That's kind of what I hope to see from our community, and can't speak for other ones. So I think the biggest part is we're just trying to be not only the best AI junior developer, but also have one of the best communities around it. So doing two things really well. And then in terms of next steps, we're still deciding on day-to-day basis, but a lot of it is I can give an example. Like, for example, today I talked to one of our customers, and then he showed me a couple of his PRs, and it's Python. It's failing because it can't import stuff. So I may add a dependency step to sweep. I may say like, okay, you can still like give step 5. Maybe like step 6 is check the dependencies, or code review becomes step 6, and then step 5 becomes checking the dependencies. So I think it's all about iterative feedback. We also are spinning up our own instances of open source models, for our own usage and eventually to provide to others. So those are kind of next steps that we're thinking about. Yeah, no, it's really important. Actually, we have another one of our customers is like, we let you configure it a lot. So we have this thing called a sweep YAML. I think we have 1 minute left, so I would love to show it quickly. .yaml. So what you can do is you can say in here, like, you can append to our system prompt. So sweep is a Python 3.10 project. Here are the main endpoints. You can also say, whenever you write a plan, add tests. And with just that, our plan that modifies 4 files may modify 6, and 2 of those will be tests. So it's very straightforward. We're building on top of OpenAI, everything's steerable. Some other things, like we have docs, so you can add your own docs to it. For example, if you want to use GitHub, Sweep will read those docs whenever you make an issue. That mentions GitHub.